Jake Morrison stood in the center of the vast chamber, his heart pounding as 12 alien voices spoke in unison. The sound echoed off the crystal walls like thunder. He had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years, but he had never seen the council this angry. The chamber was enormous, bigger than any building on Earth. Floating platforms held the representatives of 12 ancient alien races. Some looked like living crystals that sparkled with inner light. Others were clouds of gas that somehow spoke with voices. The Zenthari looked almost human, except their skin was silver and their eyes were pure black. Ambassador Morrison said, Speaker Zethkalar, his voice cold as space. Humanity has broken the sacred laws. You have terraformed worlds without permission. You have built weapons that threaten the balance of the galaxy. Jake tried to stay calm. He had practiced this speech 100 times. Honored Speaker, my people are dying. Earth has 12 billion people now. We need new worlds to live on. The planets we changed were dead rocks. Nobody lived there. A sound like wind through broken glass came from the ethereal collective's platform. Their representative, Lysiandra, spoke next. Death and life are not for young races to decide. These worlds had their own destiny. You have stolen that from them. We gave them life, Jake said, his voice getting stronger. We planted trees, made oceans, brought rain. How is that stealing? The gasping from the Vorthax swirled angrily. You think like children. You see empty and think it needs filling. You see broken and think it needs fixing. This is why you cannot stay in the council. Jake felt his stomach drop. What do you mean? Speaker Zethkalar stood up from his crystal throne. He was 3 meters tall, his silver skin reflecting the lights of the chamber. The Galactic Council finds humanity guilty of cosmic crimes. You are expelled from this body. You are banned from all council territories. You may not use our trade routes or visit our worlds. You can't do this, Jake said, stepping forward. We've been part of the council for 20 years. We've followed most of your rules. We've shared our discoveries. Your discoveries are chaos, said another voice. This came from the hive mind of Zerion, thousands of small creatures that spoke as one. You make weapons that think for themselves. You build machines that can destroy stars. You are too dangerous to exist among civilized races. Jake looked around the chamber. Every alien face showed the same thing, fear mixed with disgust. They weren't just angry at humanity. They were afraid of what humans might become. Please, he said, give us another chance. We can change. We can follow your rules better. Lysandra's voice was like a whisper now. Some things cannot be unchanged, young ambassador. Your species has the spark of creation but also destruction. You cannot control which one burns brighter. Until you learn this control, you must walk alone. The decision was final. Jake could see it in their alien faces, hear it in their voices. 20 years of friendship, trade, and shared knowledge was ending. Humanity was about to become outcasts in their own galaxy. How long? He asked quietly. Until you prove you can. Exist without threatening others, said Speaker Zethkalar. Perhaps 100 years. Perhaps 1,000. Perhaps never. Jake nodded slowly. He had failed. Earth had sent him here to keep humanity in the council, and he had failed completely. I need to contact my government. You have 1 Earth day to leave council space, the speaker said. After that, any human ships found in our territory will be destroyed. The chamber began to empty. The alien representatives floated away on their platforms, their voices fading. Soon Jake stood alone in the massive room, his footsteps echoing. As he walked toward the exit, his shuttle was small compared to the alien ships in the station's docking bay. As he climbed aboard, Jake saw the other human diplomats waiting for him. Their faces told him they already knew the bad news. How bad? Asked Lisa Chen, his deputy. Complete expulsion, Jake said as he started the engines. We have 1 day to get out of council space. The shuttle pulled away from the station slowly. Through the window, Jake could see the massive structure growing smaller. It looked like a city made of light and crystal, home to thousands of alien diplomats and their families. Humans would never see the inside of it again. Send a message to Earth, Jake told his communications officer. Priority 1. Tell President Hayes we're coming home. As they entered hyperspace, Jake thought about what this meant for humanity. Earth's colonies depended on alien technology to survive. Mars needed Xanthari air processors. Europa used Vorthak energy systems. The space stations around Jupiter ran on collective computer networks. Without Council support, some of those colonies might die. Millions of people lived off Earth now, and they all needed alien technology to keep breathing. The hyperspace tunnel collapsed, and normal stars appeared again. Earth hung in the distance like a blue marble. It looked so small and alone now. Jake remembered when he first saw it from space 25 years ago. It had seemed like the center of everything then. Now it felt like a prison. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we're getting a message from Earth. President Hayes wants to speak with you immediately." Jake nodded. He dreaded this conversation, but it had to happen. The screen flickered, and President Hayes appeared. She was in the Oval Office, surrounded by her advisors. They all looked worried. "Jake," she said without ceremony. "How bad is it?" "We're out, Madam President. Completely out. They've banned us from Council space and cut off all trade." The President closed her eyes for a moment. "How long do we have? Our colonies have maybe 6 months before their alien systems start failing. Less if we're unlucky. And there's no appeal? No way to negotiate?" Jake shook his head. "They're afraid of us. They think we're too dangerous to exist near them." President Hayes was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke again. "Then we'll have to prove them wrong, or prove them right in a way they never expected." The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. Outside the shuttle's window, Earth grew larger. Somewhere down there, 12 billion people were about to learn that they were truly alone in the universe. But Jake had heard something in the president's voice that gave him hope. Determination. Humanity had always been good at surviving impossible situations. Maybe being thrown out of the council wasn't the end of their story. Maybe it was just the beginning. 5 years had passed since the council threw humanity out, and the effects were getting worse every day. Dr. Richard Kane stared at the red warning lights flashing across his computer screen in the Global Science Center. Another colony was in trouble. Europa Station is down to 60% life support, his assistant Amy Foster reported. The Vorthak atmospheric processors are failing faster than we can fix them. Richard rubbed his tired eyes. He had been working 18-hour days for months trying to reverse engineer alien technology before humanity's colonies collapsed. It was like trying to rebuild a watch when you had never seen gears before. "What about the backup systems?" he asked. "We burned through those last month. The colonists are requesting evacuation." Richard made a note on his tablet. Europa housed 50,000 people, all mining the ice that kept Earth's water supplies stable. Losing that colony would hurt badly. His phone buzzed with another emergency call. This time it was Captain Maria Santos calling from somewhere in deep space. Her face appeared on the screen, looking exhausted. "Richard, we hit another council patrol near the Kepler system. Had to abandon the salvage operation." Maria commanded the exploration ship New Dawn, one of only 12 vessels that could still travel faster than light. She spent her time racing around the galaxy, trying to scavenge alien technology from abandoned outposts before council ships could stop her. "Did you get anything useful?" Richard asked. "Some power cells and a damaged computer core. Tony Chen thinks he can make it work, but it'll take time we don't have." Tony Chen was Maria's chief engineer, a brilliant man who could make broken alien machines work with spare parts and determination, but even he couldn't create miracles. "The council is getting better at tracking us," Maria continued. "They've got patrol ships covering every major salvage site now. I think they want us to fail slowly so other species can watch it happen." Richard nodded grimly. The council wasn't just punishing humanity. They were making an example of them, showing the galaxy what happened to races that broke the sacred rules. Back on Earth, things were getting desperate too. The global economy had crashed when alien trade stopped. Food prices were rising because Earth's farms depended on collective weather control systems. Energy was becoming scarce because human fusion reactors couldn't match the efficiency of alien power sources. President Lisa Hayes had declared a state of emergency and put the military in charge of resource distribution. People were angry and scared. Some blamed the government for getting humanity kicked out of the council. Others wanted to fight back against the aliens somehow. Robert Kim, the former UN Secretary General, had started something called the Terran Independence Movement. He held rallies in major cities telling crowds that humanity was better off without the aliens. "We survived for millions of years without their help," Kim would shout to cheering crowds. "We built civilizations, explored space, and reached the stars using nothing but human intelligence and determination. We don't need their permission to exist." His message was popular, especially among young people who had grown up hearing stories about humanity's pre-council achievements. But Richard knew the reality was more complicated. Humans had reached the stars, but alien technology had made everything easier and faster. Now they had to relearn how to do things the hard way. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Helen Brooks, a theoretical physicist working at the Deep Space Research Station, had been studying pieces of alien technology that Maria's teams had recovered. She was looking for patterns, trying to understand the basic principles behind council science. "Richard, you need to see this," Helen said during their weekly video conference. She looked excited for the first time in months. "What did you find?" "The aliens didn't invent most of their technology. They inherited it from someone else." Richard leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Helen pulled up a complex diagram on her screen. "I've been analyzing the quantum signatures in their computer cores. The base programming language is ancient, maybe 1,000,000 years old, but the aliens have only been spacefaring for about 50,000 years. So there was another race before them?" "Exactly. Someone else built the foundation for all council technology. The current species just learned how to use it and make copies." This was huge news. If the aliens weren't the original inventors, then humans might be able to develop the same technology independently, or maybe even improve on it. "There's more," Helen continued. "I think I know why the council was so afraid of our weapons and terraforming projects. We weren't copying their methods, we were developing our own solutions to the same problems." Richard felt a spark of hope for the first time in years. "You think we can match their technology?" "I think we can do better than match it. We can surpass it." Helen's research became humanity's top priority. Scientists from around the world started working together, sharing data and theories through secure communications networks. They studied every piece of alien technology they could find, not to copy it, but to understand the underlying principles. The work was dangerous. Several research stations reported strange energy readings during experiments. Some scientists claimed their equipment was behaving in impossible ways, as if the laws of physics were bending around their work. Maria Santos encountered something similar during a salvage mission near an ancient battlefield. Her ship's sensors detected energy patterns that didn't match any known alien technology. When she investigated, she found the wreckage of ships that were clearly older than Council civilization. "These aren't from any species we know," she reported to Richard. "The metal is different and the energy signatures are off the charts. It's like they were using a completely different type of physics." Tony Chen examined the wreckage and found something even stranger. The alien metal seemed to respond to human thoughts. When he concentrated on it, the material would change shape slightly. When he stopped thinking about it, it returned to its original form. "It's not just metal," he told Maria. "It's some kind of programmable matter, but it's not responding to computers. It's responding to consciousness." Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Brooks made another discovery that changed everything. While analyzing the quantum background radiation of space itself, she found evidence that reality had multiple layers. The aliens were using technology that worked on what she called Layer 2 of existence. But humans had always existed on Layer 1, the foundation level. "What if that's why our technology looks primitive to them?" she asked Richard during a late-night call. "We're working with the basic level of reality. They're using shortcuts built by someone else." "What does that mean for us?" It means we might be able to access levels of reality that they can't even see. As the second year of isolation ended, humanity was still struggling to survive. Colonies were failing, people were suffering, and the aliens showed no signs of changing their minds. But in secret laboratories and hidden research stations, human scientists were making discoveries that would change everything. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to find something that would make the council's rejection seem like a gift. Humanity was on the verge of discovering how to build their own universe. Dr. Helen Brooks floated in the zero gravity of her secret laboratory, watching numbers scroll across her computer screen. The laboratory was hidden inside the asteroid Ceres, hollowed out over 3 years of careful work. Nobody knew it existed, except for her team of 12 scientists and the handful of government officials who approved the funding. "The quantum field is stabilizing," reported Dr. Alex Rivera from his workstation. The young quantum engineer had joined Helen's team after his university was shut down due to funding cuts. "Energy levels are holding steady at 47% of theoretical maximum." Helen nodded, her eyes never leaving the main display. For 8 months they had been trying to prove her theory about layered reality. Today was the day they would either make history or create a very expensive explosion. "Susan, are your calculations ready?" Helen asked. Dr. Susan Park looked up. From her mathematics station, her face pale with exhaustion, she had been working for 36 hours straight, checking and rechecking the equations that would guide their experiment. "The dimensional resonance formulas are as accurate as I can make them. But Helen, we're still guessing about what happens when we actually tear through to layer 3. "Sometimes you have to take risks to make progress," Helen replied. She thought about the reports coming in from Earth's colonies. 3 more outposts had failed in the past month. Time was running out for humanity. The experiment was simple in concept, but terrifying in practice. They were going to use focused energy beams to create a small hole between dimensional layers. If Helen's theories were correct, they would access a completely unused level of reality. If she was wrong, they might accidentally destroy the solar system. "Initiating primary sequence," Alex announced. The laboratory's main generator hummed to life, drawing power from a network of fusion reactors hidden throughout the asteroid belt, energy output climbing to target levels. Helen felt her heart pounding as she watched the energy readings rise. Around her, automated systems checked and rechecked every component of their equipment. One mistake could kill them all. "Field generators online," Susan reported. "Dimensional anchor points established. We're as ready as we'll ever be." "Beginning dimensional probe sequence," Helen said, her finger hovering over the activation control. 3, 2, 1. Execute. The space in front of their equipment shimmered like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then reality seemed to tear open like fabric, revealing a darkness beyond that wasn't quite black. It was the absence of everything. No light, no matter, no energy. Pure possibility waiting to be shaped. "My God," Alex whispered. It actually worked. The tear in space was only about the size of a dinner plate, but through it they could see into a completely empty universe. No stars, no planets, no cosmic background radiation. It was like looking into the moment before creation itself. "The energy readings are incredible," Susan said, her voice filled with wonder. "There's no resistance from the other side. It's like there's nothing there to push back against." Helen activated her recording equipment, knowing that this moment would change human history forever. "We have successfully opened a stable portal to what appears to be an unused dimensional layer. Initial observations suggest a completely empty universe with no existing matter or energy patterns." That's when things got interesting. As Helen spoke, she noticed that her words seemed to echo strangely near the portal. Not just sound echoes, but something deeper. The empty space on the other side flickered slightly, as if responding to her voice. "Alex, are you getting energy fluctuations from the portal?" "Yes, but they're not random. They're following a pattern that matches your speech rhythms." Helen leaned closer to the portal, speaking directly toward the opening. "Testing vocal interaction with dimensional anomaly." The darkness on the other side rippled like water, and for just a moment a tiny spark of light appeared and then vanished. "Did you see that?" Susan asked, her voice tight with excitement. Something responded to you. Something appeared in there. Over. The next 6 hours, they conducted careful experiments. They discovered that the empty universe on the other side responded to conscious thought and intention. When Helen concentrated on the idea of light, pinpricks of illumination appeared in the darkness. When Alex imagined matter, tiny particles began forming in the void. We're not just observing an empty universe, Helen realized. We're looking at a blank canvas, a place where consciousness can directly create reality. The implications were staggering. If they could control this process, humanity could literally build their own universe with their own rules. No more dependence on alien technology. No more begging for permission to exist. But their discovery didn't go unnoticed. Captain Maria Santos was conducting a routine patrol near Jupiter when her ship's sensors detected massive energy spikes coming from the asteroid belt. Council forces had been monitoring human space since the expulsion, and the readings were unlike anything they had seen before. "Tony, what are you getting on the deep scan?" Maria asked her engineer. Tony Chen studied his instruments with growing concern. "The energy signature is similar to what we found in those ancient shipwrecks, but much stronger, and it's definitely human in origin." Before Maria could respond, her communication system lit up with incoming transmissions. 3 Council patrol ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system, moving fast toward Earth. "This is Zenthari battlecruiser Sanctity," came a cold voice over the radio. "Human vessels will stand down immediately. You are conducting illegal experiments with prohibited technology." Maria switched to a secure channel and contacted Dr. Brooks directly. "Helen, we've got Council ships incoming. They know about your project." From her hidden laboratory, Helen could see the tactical display showing alien ships approaching. She had hoped for more time to understand their discovery, but events were moving too fast now. "How long until they reach us?" she asked. "Maybe 6 hours if they don't use their fastest drives," Maria replied. "Less if they're really worried about what you're doing." Helen looked at the portal floating in front of her equipment. Through it, she could see the tiny lights and particles they had created during their experiments, a miniature universe that responded to human thoughts and dreams. "Alex, Susan, how quickly can we expand the portal?" "Expand it?" Alex looked shocked. "Helen, we barely understand how to maintain the current opening. Making it bigger could be catastrophic." "The Council is coming to shut us down," Helen said firmly. "This might be our only chance to learn what we're really dealing with." Over the next 4 hours, while Council ships raced toward the solar system, Helen's team worked frantically to modify their equipment. They bypassed safety systems, rerouted power from non-essential systems, and pushed their experimental technology far beyond its intended limits. General Paul Wright, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, contacted Helen as the Council ships passed. "Saturn. Doctor, we can't stop them if they decide to attack. Our best weapons are toys compared to what they have." "Give me 2 more hours," Helen replied. "I think we're about to make their weapons irrelevant." As Council forces approached the asteroid belt, Helen activated the modified portal system. Energy levels soared past the red line. Warning alarms screamed throughout the laboratory. The Terran space grew from dinner plate size to the dimensions of a doorway. Through the enlarged portal, they could see their experimental universe more clearly. The lights they had created were forming into patterns that looked almost like primitive stars. The particles were clustering together into what might become planets someday. "It's stable," Susan reported with amazement. "The larger portal is actually more stable than the small one. It's like the universe wants to be connected to ours." Helen stared through the portal at the universe she was helping to create. In the distance, she could see the lights of alien ships approaching to stop humanity's greatest experiment. But she was no longer afraid. Through that portal lay infinite possibility, a place where humans could build their own reality according to their own dreams and needs. The Council thought they were coming to stop a dangerous experiment. They had no idea they were about to witness the birth of humanity's new home. The Council ships arrived like harbingers of doom, their massive forms blotting out the stars as they approached the asteroid belt. Dr. Helen Brooks watched them through her laboratory's sensors, her hand resting on the controls that could change humanity's fate forever. 3 battlecruisers and a dreadnought, reported Captain Maria Santos from her ship near Jupiter. The Xanthari are bringing their heaviest weapons. They're not planning to negotiate. Helen looked through the portal, at the universe she and her team had been creating. In just 6 hours, their tiny experimental lights had grown into primitive stars. Clouds of matter were swirling around them, forming the beginnings of solar systems. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "How much time do we need to make the portal large enough for ships to pass through?" she asked Alex Rivera. The quantum engineer studied his calculations quickly. "At least 12 hours to do it safely. Maybe 6 if we're willing to risk everything." "We don't have 12 hours, Helen said as the first council ship entered the asteroid belt. "Start the expansion sequence. Full power." President Lisa Hayes contacted the laboratory from Earth, her face grim on the communication screen. "Helen, the Xanthari commander has issued an ultimatum. Shut down your experiment immediately or they'll destroy the entire asteroid belt." "Madam President, we're 6 hours away from opening a doorway to a universe where humanity can survive and thrive without anyone's permission. We can't stop now." "They have planet-killer weapons, Helen. They could turn Ceres into dust in seconds." Helen nodded, understanding the weight of the moment. "Then we evacuate everyone we can through the portal before they can stop us. It's our only chance." The plan was desperate but simple. Every available ship in the solar system would converge on Ceres. Transport vessels, mining ships, passenger craft, even small personal shuttles. They would load as many people as possible and send them through the portal to the new universe. Tony Chen, working frantically aboard Maria's ship, had discovered something crucial about the portal technology. "The ancient alien ships we found were designed for this," he told Helen over a secure channel. "They weren't just exploring space, they were traveling between dimensional layers. Can you modify our ships to work in the new universe?" "I think so. The technology responds to human consciousness better than it ever did to alien minds. It's like it was meant for us." As the council ships moved closer, demanding immediate shutdown of the portal project, humanity began the largest evacuation in its history. Ships lifted off from Earth carrying millions of people. Colony transports abandoned Mars and the outer planets, racing toward Ceres with their precious human cargo. The portal had grown to nearly 100 meters across, large enough for ships to pass through. On the other side, the new universe was developing rapidly. Helen's team had learned to guide the creation process, shaping the fundamental forces to be more favorable to human life. "Gravity responds to intent here," reported Dr. Susan Park, who was monitoring the new universe's development. "We can make planets with perfect atmospheric pressure just by concentrating on the idea of comfortable breathing." "The speed of light is faster there too," added Alex. "Space travel will be much easier in our universe." The first ship to cross over was a small scout vessel piloted by navigator Amy Foster. She had volunteered for the dangerous mission, knowing that she might not be able to return if something went wrong. "Crossing the threshold now," Amy reported as her ship approached the portal. "I can see the new stars getting brighter. They're beautiful." Her ship disappeared through the portal and for a moment everyone held their breath. Then Amy's voice crackled through the communication system from the other side. "The stars are singing," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can hear music coming from them, and the space here feels alive somehow. It's like the universe is welcoming me home." That was all the encouragement humanity needed. Ships began streaming through the portal in increasing numbers. Families, scientists, artists, farmers, engineers, anyone who could reach Ceres in time. The new universe embraced them all. But the council was not idle. Speaker Zeth Kalar himself arrived aboard the dreadnought Eternal Judgment, the most powerful ship in the Xanthari fleet. Its weapons could shatter moons. "Human vessels, this is your final warning," came his voice across all frequencies. "Cease your dimensional manipulations immediately. You are creating a threat to the cosmic order." President Hayes tried to buy time through diplomacy. "Speaker Zeth Kalar, we're not threatening anyone. We're simply finding a new place to live." You are opening doorways between realities, the speaker replied coldly. This violates the most sacred laws of existence. If you do not stop, we will be forced to use planetary destruction weapons. Helen's team worked desperately to expand the portal further. More ships were arriving every hour, but millions of people were still trapped in the solar system. They needed more time. That's when an unexpected ally appeared. Kethmore, a Xanthari scientist who had been secretly helping Helen's research, sent a coded message to the laboratory. The speaker is wrong about your experiment, the message said. I have studied your portal technology. You are not violating cosmic law, you are fulfilling it. The ancient builders of our technology left instructions for this process. They wanted younger races to eventually create their own realities. The message included data files that changed everything. The ancient aliens who had built the foundation of council technology hadn't disappeared. They had transcended to higher dimensional layers, leaving their tools behind for others to use. Creating new universes wasn't forbidden, it was the natural progression of intelligent life. We need to show this to the council, Helen said, if they understand what we're really doing. They won't listen, interrupted General Paul Wright from Earth's Defense Command. The Xanthari ship is charging. It's stellar disruptor. They're going to try to ignite the sun. The situation had become a race against time. On one side, humanity was streaming through the portal to safety in their custom-built universe. On the other side, the council was preparing to commit genocide to stop them. Helen made the hardest decision of her life. She ordered the portal to be moved. Alex, can we relocate the doorway? Theoretically, yes, but it would require disconnecting it from our anchor points here. We'd have to rebuild the entire portal system on the other side. Do it. As the last transport ships rushed toward the portal, Alex and his team began the delicate process of transferring the dimensional gateway. The portal flickered and wavered as its connection to the Ceres laboratory weakened. The Xanthari dreadnought fired its stellar disruptor at the sun just as the portal finished its transition. The weapon that should have ignited humanity's star instead struck empty space. The portal was gone, sealed from the other side. Dr. Helen Brooks stood in her new laboratory, built in the heart of a star-filled nebula in humanity's universe. Through the reinforced windows, she could see ships still arriving from the old reality, bringing the last refugees through hidden backup portals that her team had secretly constructed. How many made it through? She asked. 8 billion people, reported Amy Foster, who had become the new universe's first navigator general. We saved 8 billion human beings. Helen nodded, feeling the weight of those who hadn't made it in time. But humanity had survived. More than survived. They had transcended. In this new universe, humans weren't bound by the limitations that had trapped them before. Outside the laboratory, construction ships were already building humanity's first cities among the stars. The laws of physics here were kinder, more responsive to human needs and dreams. Children born in this reality would grow up able to shape matter with their thoughts and travel between worlds as easily as walking between rooms. The Council had tried to destroy humanity for breaking their ancient rules. Instead, they had forced humans to become something greater than anyone had imagined possible. In the old universe, the Xanthari ships found only empty planets and abandoned stations. Humanity had vanished completely, leaving behind only the fading energy signature of the greatest escape in galactic history. Speaker Zeth Kalar stared at the readings from his ship's sensors, finally understanding what the humans had accomplished. They hadn't just fled to another star system. They had created their own reality and taken their entire civilization with them. For the first time in his 1,000-year life, the speaker felt something he had never experienced before. Respect for the species he had tried to destroy. 10 years had passed since humanity escaped to their self-made universe, and the changes were beyond anything anyone had imagined possible. Jake Morrison, now president of the Universal Human Republic, floated through the crystal gardens of New Geneva, watching children play among flowers that sang in harmony with the solar winds. The children were different from those born in the old universe. They could shape matter with focused thought, communicate across vast distances through pure mental connection, and see colors that had no names in any human language. They were still human, but human in a way that transcended the old limitations. The council sent another message, reported his aide, Secretary Linda Park. She had been one of the first volunteers to cross through the portal, leaving behind a comfortable life on Earth to help build humanity's new home. What do they want this time? Jake asked, only half interested. Council messages had been arriving regularly for the past 5 years, ever since they discovered that humanity hadn't been destroyed after all. The same thing. They want to meet. They want to discuss terms for our return to the galaxy. Jake laughed, a sound that caused nearby crystal formations to chime in musical response. Return? Why would we ever want to go back to being their rejected stepchildren? The transformation of human civilization had been remarkable to witness. In the old universe, humans had struggled to terraform dead planets using crude technology. Here they simply asked the matter to arrange itself into more pleasant forms. Worlds shaped themselves according to human dreams, creating landscapes of impossible beauty and perfect habitability. Dr. Helen Brooks had become something more than human through her constant work with the universe's creation matrix. She could perceive the fundamental code of reality and rewrite it like editing a document. Her laboratory now existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously, allowing her to work on projects that would have been inconceivable before. The Stellar Engineering Project is ahead of schedule, Helen reported during the monthly leadership meeting. We'll have 3 new star systems online by next month, each one designed specifically for different types of human activities. Different? How? Asked Admiral Maria Santos, who now commanded a fleet of ships that could travel faster than thought itself. One system optimized for artistic creation, with stars that provide inspiration through their light frequencies. Another designed for scientific research, with planets that generate new forms of matter for experimentation. The third will be for agriculture, with soil that adapts to whatever crops we want to grow. The ease with which humanity had adapted to godlike powers surprised everyone, including themselves. Rather than becoming corrupted by unlimited ability, humans had used their new capabilities to create beauty, foster learning, and build communities that were genuinely happy. Cities floated freely in space, connected by streams of light that carried both people and information. Architecture followed artistic vision rather than structural necessity, resulting in buildings that looked like music made solid, or poetry given form. The most remarkable change was in human relationships. When people could share thoughts directly and create whatever they needed through focused intention, the old sources of conflict simply disappeared. There were no wars over resources because resources were infinite. There were no arguments about territory because space itself could be expanded at will. But humanity's achievements had not gone unnoticed in the old galaxy. Reports reached them through dimensional monitoring stations that the Council's authority was crumbling. Species that had lived under alien rule for thousands of years were beginning to rebel, inspired by the story of humanity's escape and transformation. Captain Tony Chen, now head of interdimensional relations, brought disturbing news from his monitoring stations. The Vorthak Empire is in civil war. Half their species wants to follow humanity's example and create their own reality. The Zenthari are trying to hold the Council together, but rebellions are breaking out on dozens of worlds. Are they asking for our help? Jake wondered. Some are. Others want to know if we'll teach them how to build their own universes. This created a moral dilemma that the human leadership had been discussing for months. Did they have a responsibility to help other species escape the Council's control? Or would sharing their universe creation technology create chaos across multiple realities? Dr. Helen Brooks had strong opinions on the subject. Knowledge should be shared, she argued during a heated debate in the floating council chambers of New Geneva. We didn't create this technology just for ourselves. We created it to prove that consciousness can transcend arbitrary limitations. But what if they use it destructively? Countered General Paul Wright, who had become humanity's chief security advisor. Not every species thinks like we do. Some might create realities designed for conquest or exploitation. The debate was interrupted by an urgent message from the dimensional monitoring stations. A massive fleet of alien ships had appeared at the edge of human space, but these weren't council vessels. They were ships from the rebel species, badly damaged and carrying millions of refugees. Admiral Maria Santos took her fastest ship to investigate. What she found was both heartbreaking and inspiring. The rebel fleet contained survivors from a dozen different species, all fleeing the Council's brutal attempts to restore order. They had fought their way across half the galaxy to reach humanity's dimension. Their leader was Kethmore, the Xanthari scientist who had secretly helped humanity during their escape. He looked older and more tired than Maria remembered, but his eyes still held the spark of scientific curiosity that had made him risk everything to help humans. "We tried to follow your example," he told Maria as medical ships rushed to help the damaged alien vessels. "But we lack your ability to create new realities." The Council's response was severe. "How many of you are there?" "Perhaps 50 million. Refugees from 20 different worlds. The Council has declared us all criminals for seeking dimensional freedom. The refugee crisis forced humanity to make a choice about their future. They could remain isolated in their perfect universe, or they could actively help other species break free from the Council's oppressive rule." President Jake Morrison called for a universal referendum, allowing every human being to vote on whether they should open their reality to alien refugees. The debate was passionate but respectful, with both sides presenting compelling arguments. In the end, humanity chose compassion over caution. By a margin of 67%, they voted to welcome the refugees and teach them how to create their own universes. Dr. Helen Brooks worked with alien scientists to adapt universe creation technology to non-human consciousness. It turned out that each species had unique ways of perceiving reality, leading to universes with completely different physical laws and possibilities. The Vorthak created a reality made entirely of living energy, where thought and matter were the same thing. The crystalline ethereal collective built a universe of pure mathematics, where equations took physical form and geometric shapes could think and feel. Within 5 years, 17 different species had successfully created their own realities, each one reflecting their unique perspective on existence. Rather than leading to chaos, this diversity created a new kind of galactic community. The different universes were connected by diplomatic portals, allowing for trade and cultural exchange between realities. The old Galactic Council found itself ruling over an increasingly empty galaxy. Species after species abandoned their homeworlds to build better realities elsewhere. The ancient trade routes became ghostly corridors between dead systems. Speaker Zethkalar, now the last remaining council member with any real authority, sent a final message to humanity. It was not a demand or a threat, but a request. "We were wrong," his message said simply. "We tried to preserve order by preventing change, but change is the nature of life itself. Our species are dying because we feared to grow. Would you teach us how to begin again?" President Morrison discussed the request with his advisors. Some argued that the Council had forfeited any right to help when they tried to destroy humanity. Others pointed out that even former enemies deserved a chance at redemption. In the end, humanity chose mercy. They sent Dr. Helen Brooks and a team of universe architects to work with the remaining Council species. The process was slower and more difficult than with the rebels, because the Council races had spent so long following ancient rules that they had almost forgotten how to dream. But eventually, even the proud Xanthari learned to let go of their rigid control and embrace the creative chaos of building new realities. Their universe turned out to be a place of perfect order and infinite possibility, where every citizen could live according to their own vision of ideal existence. 20 years after being kicked out of the Galactic Council, humanity had become the teachers of transcendence. They had taken the universe's rejection and transformed it into the galaxy's liberation. Children born in the new realities grew up knowing that consciousness was the fundamental force of existence. They learned to shape matter, energy, space, and time as naturally as their ancestors had learned to walk and speak. They were still recognizably human, but they were human unlimited. Jake Morrison, now old but kept vital by the regenerative properties of their Q